Hello, fancy managers, and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. In this video, it's going to be something a little bit different. We're starting off a new series where we're going to interview some of our contributors and have a look at their first draft teams. And to kick things off, we've got the one and only FPL Heisenberg, otherwise known as Wes. Welcome, Wes.
Thank you very much, Will. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's great to be on. It was great to have you on, I should say. And tell our watchers a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in FPL these days.
Okay, yeah, sure. So myself, been playing FPL around 7 seasons, I believe. Joined sort of Twitter community, or FPL Twitter community, about 3 years ago. And some of you guys might know me as FPL Heisenberg on Twitter.
You're pretty handy at it. I know, not want to sort of blow your own trumpet, but got a pretty impressive record there, over the last 6 seasons, never finished outside the top 32k, some pretty impressive consistency and a best rank there of 836th in the world. So you clearly know your FPL. You do your team reveals on Fantasy Football Hub, where members can access your team and your thoughts and your transfers. So you're revealing a first draft for free for all our YouTube subscribers, so thank you very much for that. So we're going to go through your team here, and starting off at the back then, you've gone for Ryan in between the sticks. Tell me a little bit about that.
The way I usually play is I usually go for a 4.5 million goalkeeper. In years gone by, sometimes I've rotated 2 4.5 million goalkeepers, but last year and this year, what I want to do is just have total spend of 8.5 million. So I want a 4.5 million goalkeeper along with a 4.0 backup. So at the minute I've got Ryan, but I feel like this year, I don't know what you think, Will, there's a real dearth of 4.5 options in goal. So there's the newly promoted ones that I'm kind of going to avoid just because they're an unknown quantity. And other than that, I've got Martinez at Arsenal is an interesting one. If there's a quote from Arteta saying, he deserves to be given a chance, he's the number one at the start of the season, something like that, I'll possibly, almost definitely switch to him. And then also there's McCarthy at Southampton, decent fixtures at the start. But there's rumours that Southampton were in for Butland. So if they're in the market for a goalkeeper, could end up getting stung there sort of after the transfer window closes. And then there's a goalkeeper transfer, which I don't really want to do. And another benefit with Ryan is you've got his, obviously we'll get onto my bench later on, but we've got his understudy in Button 4.0. So it's one of the only combinations you can do, obviously outside of the newly promoted sides, where you can have the 8.5 combo. I'm just not too sure on Brighton's defensive stats sort of last year once they changed managers. They went for a more attacking style, didn't they? So they kind of tended to let in a few more goals. So I'm not set on Ryan, but there's just a lot of things ticking the boxes there.
Yeah, and I think Ryan is sort of the epitome of a solid goalkeeper, isn't he? In terms of you know exactly what you're going to get from a 4.5 Brighton keeper. He's going to be get a few clean sheets and a few save points, and we're not going to expect massive hauls from him, but at the same time he's probably going to be a bit of a steady Eddie. So I can certainly understand that pick. I know a lot of people are going with McCarthy, so I think that if Southampton don't get another keeper, then I probably fancy their defense a little bit more. And of course, as you said, Martinez, he's a real value pick there. As you say, I think probably Leno is likely to get the number 1 jersey. So
that's my thoughts at the minute, that he probably will get that number 1 Leno. But if he doesn't, we'll go there.
Nice one. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to your defense then, Doherty and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Justin gone for 2 premiums there. And a bit of a cheapie. Tell me about that. Are you pretty set on that defence, or are you unsure?
Yeah, I'm fairly happy with my defence actually. My midfield is where I'm sort of virtually no one's nailed. But back to my defence. I do really like Doherty, sort of proven Premier League fantasy asset for us over the last 2 seasons. I've had him at various points over the last 2 seasons, and he's always done well for me. So that's kind of in my mind. But also their fixtures are okay at the start. I think he's possibly underpriced at 6 million. He could have come in at 6.5. I don't think many people would have complained about that. His fixtures are okay. I think he's got City week 2, which is obviously not a great fixture for a defender. But yeah, I just like he's a triple threat, isn't he? He's got bags of assist potential in open play. He's getting forward, and he's got a goal threat in terms of, again, during open play, he's actually joining Jimenez as the striker sometimes. If you ever watch Wolves play, you'll see he just gets right in there. So attacking returns are going to come. And defensively last year, they were really solid as well. In terms of like conceding big chances, they're right up there statistically as well, Wolves. So I think he's a solid pick, and I think he's nailed. I know a lot of people have got Vinagre, and I had in one of my, when I first started sort of tinkering with my team, I had Doherty and then Vinagre sort of on the bench. I haven't gone that way at the minute, but if Wolves don't sign a left wing back, I'll possibly go for both Vinagre as well, because he's a really good option if they don't sign someone.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And Wolves, as you said, they don't have brilliant opening fixtures, but I quite like that. You know, that Sheffield United away fixture. I think that's going to be tight. I can see that being possibly like a 0-0 or something.
Yeah.
You know, both of them are pretty solid defensively.
Yeah, cancel each other out.
And then, as you said, they got City game week 2, but after that, Wolves have a really favourable run of fixtures. So, you know, I guess for someone like Doherty, you're thinking of, you know, this is sort of a set and forget type player.
Yeah, more of a longer term, and even.
I was just going to say, would you rotate him out for the City match, or
not Doherty? I've got, obviously my other defenders in there is Justin from Leicester, who plays City. Is it week 3? And it's City away as well. So for someone like Justin, I'll probably rotate out with one of my cheaper defenders. So yeah, moving on to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, he speaks for himself. We all know what he's about: assists and goal threat. And Liverpool, one of the best defences in the league. So yeah, we all know him. And it's probably a bargain at 7.5 as well. He could have come in at 8 million, and I'd have probably still gone for him. So yeah, Trent's absolutely nailed on for me. And Justin, I really like from a value point of view. He comes in a lot. Probably the cheapest route into the Leicester back 4. There's also another potential 4.5 option at Leicester in Luke Thomas, who I believe, I'm not 100%, but I believe he's the understudy left back for Chilwell. So yeah, again, that would be something I sort of play by ear closer to the start of the season. But in terms of Justin, I think he'll play long-ish term with Pereira out. So sort of up until that first wild card, I'm hoping to have Justin in my team. And their fixtures are probably a bit mixed. Like most teams have got kind of mixed fixtures, but in terms of their first 5, they've got West Brom away, 3 home matches against Burnley, West Ham and Villa, and I'll possibly bench in week 3 at the Etihad. So I think he's a solid pick for the price.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think just a general comment on all your defenders there, some really good picks. I agree. You know, I think Doherty and Trent, although they're sort of premium defenders, you know, if you compare them to similarly priced mids and forwards, then they just absolutely smash them out of the park in terms of points they got last season and expected points, I think, this season. So yeah, I think all 3 of those are really good picks, to be honest. Moving on to your midfield then, and this is a little bit different to what I sort of see a lot of teams going for at the moment. So talk us through your thinking behind these picks.
I'm not happy with my midfield. I can't seem to get it right at the minute. But what I've got at the minute, as obviously you can see, is Son, Barnes, Salah, and Souček. So with Son, again, his fixtures are pretty good at the start. He's got a couple of tough ones in his first sort of. No, I think it's just a United away in week 4, which is his only sort of real tough one on paper. But Son's an interesting one. If Mourinho deploys him sort of left wing, where he was really wide, wasn't he, under Mourinho? I'm hoping Mourinho maybe changes and gets him closer to Kane. That could see the best of Son, in my opinion, from an FPL point of view. If he seems like he's going to be, you know, hanging wide on the left with Kane and others through the middle, I'll probably avoid at 9 million. I don't want someone that wide at that price. So yeah, it really depends on Son's position. But with my team, I've got 1.5 million in the bank, so I'm kind of already eyeing up Son to Bruno in week 2.
Yeah,
that's the exact money there. But yeah, I'm not set on Son. Again, with Harvey Barnes at Leicester, I'm not set on him. I like him as an FPL asset just in terms of his direct approach. He gets shots off. Really exciting player, but he tends to Brendan Rodgers rotates those positions. So you've got Barnes, Gray, Perez, and even Albrighton and Iheanacho sometimes take up the minutes of the likes of Barnes. So yeah, he's another one that I don't know. I guess I'll just sort of got to research a little bit more in pre-season and see if I feel like he's worth the risk of limited minutes. If I think he can still get me the points in, the 65 minutes he plays.
Yeah, as you say, Leicester have got some pretty tasty fixtures. I'm guessing that's why you've sort of gone for a couple of Leicester players there.
Exactly, yeah.
And no surprise with Salah then. I don't think he sort of picks himself. Souček, though, that's he's got that nice opening fixture against Newcastle. Obviously, I think he's fantastic value. Did a video on Underpriced Players and he was in there. So if anyone checks, someone check that out. Link in the description. But for me, it probably wouldn't be a player that I look at for the start of the season just because got Newcastle at home first game, great fixture, but then it gets a little bit ugly, doesn't it?
Awful, yeah. Fixtures Gameweek 2 to 7 are terrible for West Ham. So he is someone I will probably swerve. He's kind of only in there because he is that 5 million mark. And I don't know whether to start him against Newcastle and then potentially bench him for one of my defenders and start playing a 4-3-3. But I don't really like the idea of that. So if I'm being realistic and honest with myself, he is. I probably will move him on in my next draft. But yeah, if he just had even okay fixtures, even a mixed bag of fixtures, I'd probably go for him for the value of 5 million. He scored 3 goals in his last 7 Premier League games, so he is a real threat. But yeah, like you said, those fixtures Gameweek 2 to Gameweek 7 are really, really ugly. So I'm going to probably avoid that. But in terms of price points in my midfield, you can see that I've got sort of cheap one, and then Barnes at 7. Couple million more expensive in Son and then expensive in Salah, so I can jump on and off players quite easily with that structure.
And I don't want to put you off Souček completely, actually, and I think he is a good pick. And at 5 million, he's the type of player that you can just bench as well. You can just have 5 million player on your bench, no issues there. So I think he could be a good shout. I think the big sort of omission in your midfield is probably Aubameyang, because obviously Arsenal have couple of tasty fixtures early doors. What's your reasoning behind not going with him?
It's just financial. Just not having the money. Yeah, but I'll get into my strikers in a minute. If I look to save money there, I would potentially go Son up to Aubameyang, and again go with the tactic of like you said, those first 2 fixtures for Aubameyang, which are tasty. I would use Aubameyang for those 2 definitely, and then at that point, I'd decide on the sort of best City asset or Bruno Fernandes so it could either be Sterling, De Bruyne or Bruno. So yeah, if I can free up some money, I've already got 1.5, so I'd need to find an extra 1.5 somewhere. So it's definitely an option I'm considering.
Before we move on to strikers then, I just want to give a cheeky plug to our Fantasy Football Hub app. As you can see, a nice little advert on the side here. It does everything it does on the website in a easy-to-use app. I'm super excited for people to start using this and getting their hands on it. I'll leave a link in the description where you can find all the details about how to download it. It is still a beta, so just be aware of that, having a little few teething issues, but generally really positive feedback. Wes, you've been using the app, what do you think?
I have, love it. Really quick, really easy to use, and like you just said, all the main features from the website. And a really cool thing is you can have notifications on for whatever game you play. So if you're playing Sky, Telegraph, etc., FPL, you can have notifications on for all of them or just the ones you play. So I've currently got mine on FPL and Sky.
Nice one, mate. I'll see you that tenner later. Okay, so moving on to your forward line now, and this is looking pretty strong. So talk me through your thought process around going with these 3.
So yes, starting with Werner, obviously he's coming in at 9.5 million, which is a pretty good price. I'm guessing because obviously he's unproven in the Premier League, we're potentially getting him a little bit cheaper than he should be. I'm not 100% set on Werner just because of Chelsea's recruitment. So I see it as a bit of a double-edged sword. It's really exciting because in theory they should score a lot of goals and he should get a lot of goals and assists. Obviously with his underlying stats coming over from the Bundesliga, he should do really well. But I'm a bit worried that there's going to be rotation there. There's a lot of forward players to get game time. And it's just the unknown quantity of how new players will gel, how he'll settle in London, in the Premier League. A tactic I've kind of used over the years is to avoid brand new players to the Premier League. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So I was quite slow on Bruno Fernandes last year, for example. But generally speaking, it's kind of a safer option to go for the more tried and tested players. But yeah, I do think just one spot in my squad, I will take a bit of a risk, have a bit of fun. He's a player I'm excited about, so I think I will go with him at the start of the season. And then obviously you can see my other two, Jimenez and Ings. I like these two, both 8.5 million, both proven in the Premier League. Jimenez off the back of 2 really strong seasons in a row. Ings obviously with a really good season last year. And Ings seems to be over his injury issues, which always used to be a bit of a put off. He was starting and playing 90 minutes pretty much week in, week out, even with a busy schedule last year. And yeah, I think we touched on the Wolves fixtures earlier. They're pretty strong, and Southampton's first sort of 8 or 9 fixtures are pretty good as well, with only a couple of tough games in there. So yeah, I like those two. I don't know how you feel about those, or if I'm kind of clinging on to last year a bit.
No, I think they're really good picks, and the Jimenez and Ings in particular. I think 2 players that I really want in my team, but I just can't find the budget, and I guess that's partly where the Aubameyang budget has gone.
Exactly, yeah.
Into those strike force. I'm sitting with Mitrovic and Werner in my latest draft, so that's a big difference compared to Werner, Jimenez, and Ings. So I think you're probably spreading your funds pretty wisely there. My one sort of question mark over that is that there seems to be some really good midfielders at the moment, and De Bruyne, Aubameyang, Bruno, Mane, Sterling. If these guys begin to fire, then it might be difficult to switch out and bring those players in. But at the same time, you could have the likes of Kane, Aguero firing, and if you're weighted in midfield, then you'll have struggled to bring those guys in. So it's a bit of a balance now. But I've got to say, I can't fault any of those picks for sure. I think one thing that I'd be interested to know your thoughts on, because I know that looking at the Wolves guys, you said that they've got good fixtures, and I agree that over the long term they've got really good fixtures. So I'm curious about where you're thinking about playing your wild card and potentially chip strategy early doors, whether you've given that much thought
yet. I've given it a bit of thought. So in terms of wild card, I don't want to commit to an early wild card of say I know there's some talk around, and quite rightly so, of Gameweek 2 wild card. Obviously you can then build a strong Gameweek 1 squad, and then for week 2 you can bring in your Manchester City and United players easily. But it's not something, I don't want to commit a wild card early doors, so I'm hoping to avoid that. With obviously in the back of my mind, happy to pull the trigger if needs be. So at the minute, my wild card one will be whenever it suits my team, hopefully a bit later down the line. It can be really strong. Obviously, we've got to use it by week 16, I believe, this year. So hopefully at that point, I can then set my team up. If I do use wildcard that late, then set it for sort of a good 6 to 10 weeks at that point, and have a strong sort of middle part of the season.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and it's also worth highlighting that we're expecting some pretty difficult blanks, double game weeks around about game week 18, game week 19, which is after you need to play your first wild card, but you could use that first wild card sort of in game week 16 to set yourself up for those blanks and doubles potentially.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, these are sort of ifs and buts at the moment, but it is sort of worth having that in the back of your mind. And I'm a player that often plays an early wild card, and I think this season I'm going to try to set my team up for the long haul. Obviously if it needs sort of if it needs a massive correction, then you got to sort of do it. But if I'm going to try and not sort of just build a team for the first 4 game weeks, which I have done in the past. So I think some very, very wise words from you there. Moving just to finish things off then onto your bench. Gone for the Crystal Palace double up in defence there. Talk to me about that.
So yes, with my bench, obviously I spoke a bit about Button earlier, so I won't repeat myself there. But with Mitchell and Ferguson, the left and right back for Crystal Palace, I'm hoping Mitchell gets some game time with Van Arn out injured for, again, he's one with a long-term injury. They're both kind of low risk. They're both 4.0, so they're as cheap as you can get. And I believe Ferguson is being tipped to maybe take that right back spot from Ward, but I think the safer option is probably Mitchell at this point, just because of the Van Arn injury. That's why he's positioned first on my bench. And then my cheap midfielder at the minute is 4.5 million Gordon. when I started making a draft, I did tell myself that, you know, I'm going to pick 5 stronger midfielders, and already I'm back to the 3-4-3. So I do definitely want to, you know, challenge myself to improve my own strategy and, you know, move with the times. I've always been a 3-4-3 man, but in future drafts that I make in the next couple of weeks, I'm definitely going to play around with, you know, getting Aubameyang in, improving that fifth midfield slot to someone who can play week in, week out.
All right, then. Well, we'll end the video there. Thank you very, very much, Wes, for being on. Where can the watchers find you on social media?
So yeah, social media, Twitter and Instagram, FPL_Heisenberg, and you'll see me involved with the hub a lot as well.
Nice one. All right, well, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please like, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Bye for now.
Brilliant. Cheers, Will.